Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're about to unpack one of the most, literally, intellectually thrilling frontiers in modern biology. I want you to think back to 1996 for a second. A single photograph of Dolly the sheep completely changed the scientific world forever, right? Dolly wasn't just a sheep. She represented this profound realization that the genetic clock inside a specialized adult cell could actually be rewound. So today, we are going to decode exactly how scientists take an ordinary piece of tissue and turn it into a living, breathing organism. So you have to ask yourself, could a specialized cell ever actually remember how to build an entire animal? I mean, that is the core biological puzzle of cellular differentiation. When an embryo develops, its cells specialize, right? A skin cell becomes skin, a neuron becomes a brain cell, and for decades biologists debated if this was just a one-way street. Once a cell chose its destiny, was it locked in forever? Well, get ready, because we're going to take a deep dive into how science actually figured out how to rewrite a cell's destiny.
All right, Section 1, the genetic clock rewound. Let's just dive right into how scientists first approached this seemingly impossible biological puzzle.
Because, the journey didn't actually start with Dolly. Way back in the 1930s, Hans Spemann first theorized these nuclear transfer experiments. Fast forward to 1952, and scientists Robert Briggs and Thomas King actually pulled it off. They successfully cloned tadpoles. But, and this is a big but, they used embryonic cells. Adult cells were still considered biologically impossible because their DNA basically shuts down the genes it no longer needs. But then, in 1996, Ian Wilmot completely shattered that assumption with Dolly the sheep. He proved that adult mammals could be cloned. And that brings us right up to the present day, where we're seeing these incredible modern developments in handmade cloning, which we'll get into in just a bit.
So, the crucial concept making all of this possible is called nuclear reprogramming. It's the deceptively simple core principle of somatic cell nuclear transfer, or SCNT for short. Every single somatic cell in an animal's body carries the complete blueprint of that organism. Literally 100% of the instructions are there. If you take the nucleus out of an adult cell and transplant it into an egg cell that has had its own nucleus removed, something truly magical happens. The egg's cytoplasm has these special protein factors that act like a massive molecular reset button. We are literally tricking an adult cell nucleus into starting life all over again just by wiping its developmental memory. Moving on to Section 2, the SCNT procedure, cellular microsurgery. How do they actually pull this off? Let's zoom way into the microscopic scale and look at the classic pipeline for this procedure. Think of it like a high-stakes surgical heist right at the cellular level.
This cellular heist happens in 4 critical steps, and honestly, it requires incredible precision, high-powered inverted microscopes, and extremely expensive micromanipulators. First, scientists collect unfertilized eggs, called oocytes, and mature them to a very precise stage of cell division known as metaphase 2. Second, they perform enucleation, which is just a fancy word for removing the egg's original genetics. Third, they prepare the donor DNA, usually from a fibroblast cell. And fourth, they use electrofusion to combine them. Let's break these down real quick.
So, step 2, enucleation. This creates what we call a cytoplast. Because we obviously don't want the egg's own genetic material interfering with our clone, the operator uses a microscopic glass needle to actually pierce the egg's outer protective layer. They pinpoint the egg's chromosomes and carefully suck them right out. What you're left with is a completely empty biological vessel, the cytoplast.
Okay, but what about the donor DNA? Scientists typically use a somatic cell, specifically a fibroblast, taken from connective tissue, like a skin or an ear biopsy. They're super easy to grow and store. But what's really fascinating here is how they prep these donor cells. Before cloning, scientists intentionally starve these fibroblasts in a nutrient-deprived medium. This literally forces the cells to stop their active cell cycle and enter a resting phase called G0. By pausing the cell cycle, the DNA synchronizes, making it highly receptive to the new reprogramming instructions it's about to get from that empty egg.
Which brings us to Section 3, the cytoplasm mystery, a race against time. Because once that prepared fibroblast is inserted into the empty egg, usually fused together by a brief electrical pulse, a massive biochemical reaction kicks off. And from that second on, it is a microscopic race against time. There is a really brilliant way to conceptualize this. Picture adult fibroblast DNA as a tightly locked book, completely covered in bookmarks and post-it notes. Those bookmarks are epigenetic markers,
like DNA methylation. Basically, they're instructions that tell the cell, hey, you're a skin cell. Keep the skin genes on and keep the embryo genes off. The cell is heavily specialized, totally locked into its role. But once that locked book of DNA is dropped inside the egg, the cytoplasm has to act like a massive biochemical editor. I mean, it is frantically doing some serious heavy lifting. In mere hours, it aggressively strips away all those adult epigenetic tags, tears out all the post-it notes, and completely rewrites the instructions. It tells the DNA, forget you were ever a skin cell. You are now a totipotent zygote. It's doing in a matter of hours what nature normally takes days or even weeks to establish naturally.
But as you can probably guess, this whole cytoplasmic reprogramming thing is incredibly fragile. If the cytoplasm fails to correctly edit and reprogram the DNA, gene expression just goes completely haywire. And this fragility is exactly what leads to the massive inefficiencies we see in traditional SCNT. We are talking historically low success rates here, resulting in developmental blocks, large offspring syndrome, or severe genetic abnormalities.
And that is exactly why we needed Section 4, Handmade Cloning, the revolution. This elegant redesign brilliantly illustrates how scientists bypass those older technical bottlenecks.
When you compare these two methods side by side, the difference is honestly staggering. Traditional SCNT, you're looking at immense technical skill, complex setups, and micromanipulator rigs that can cost upwards of $50,000. Handmade cloning, or HMC, is a radical simplified redesign. It completely throws out the expensive microneedles and holding pipettes. Instead, it relies on a scalpel-free enzyme-based process and manual bisection that can literally be done under standard microscopes. It is such an incredibly elegant workaround.
So let's walk through this HMC process step by step. Step 1 is removing the zona pellucida. Instead of using a glass needle to pierce the egg's outer protective shell, the zona pellucida, scientists just use an enzyme called pronase to completely dissolve it, which leaves you with a naked oocyte. Then, step 2 is manual bisection. Working under a totally standard stereo microscope, the operator uses a tiny glass microblade to manually cut this naked egg right in half.
Now you might be wondering, how do they know which half is the empty cytoplast that we actually want? Well, they developed the really clever screening workaround. They stain the egg halves with a safe fluorescent DNA dye, like host stain, and then hit it with a brief flash of UV light. The half that still contains the DNA lights up with a glowing blue dot. So, scientists simply discard the glowing half and keep the clean, non-glowing cytoplast half. Problem solved.
Now notice this crucial number right here, 2. In step 4, the group fusion stage, scientists take 2 of these clean cytoplast halves and sandwich the donor fibroblast cells right between them. A single electrical pulse fuses the whole cluster together. But why 2? Well, by fusing 2 cytoplast halves, HMC literally doubles the amount of reprogramming factors available to that somatic nucleus. This brilliant little tweak not only makes the process cheaper and faster, but often significantly boosts the success rates of embryonic development.
All right, Section 5, Blastocyst to birth, the final stages. The cellular reconstruction is completely finished. Let's zoom back out from the microscopic level and see what actually happens next.
Whether it was created via classic SCNT or the newer handmade cloning method, that fused cell is now a reconstructed embryo. On day 1, it goes into a specialized incubator that perfectly mimics physiological conditions. By days 2 through 4, it rapidly divides into a multi-cell morula. By days 5 to 7, it reaches the blastocyst stage, which features an inner cell mass and an outer layer. And at this crucial blastocyst stage, it is surgically transferred into a surrogate mother. If it implants successfully, the surrogate carries it to term, ultimately yielding a living, breathing animal that is a direct, genetic carbon copy of the original donor cell. Absolutely wild, right?
From rewriting cellular memory with epigenetic tags to literally slicing naked embryos in half with handmade cloning, the technology is just staggering. We are literally bridging the gap between cellular destiny and genetic rebirth. So I want to leave you with this provocative question. What is the future of somatic cell nuclear transfer and cloning technology? Like, where do we actually go from here now that we hold the power to hit the reset button on the biological clock? Keep pondering that, keep exploring the slides, and keep learning. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and as always, stay curious.